Now, here in Germany, there is growing opposition to the far-right AfD party. Activists stage a vigil for victims of extremist violence lit by lanterns at Berlin's Brandenburg Gate. The lights spell out the words "Never again is now," a reference to Nazi crimes. And some pressure groups want to ban the AfD or cut off its funding.
Hundreds of thousands of people have taken to the streets across Germany. They are protesting against the rise of the far right and against the Alternative for Germany party, the AfD. The outcry was sparked by reports of a meeting in which some members of the AfD took part and where mass deportations of people of foreign origin were discussed, a plan that echoed policies of Germany's Nazi past. The shock was felt all the way to the top of the German government. In a video address, Chancellor Olaf Scholz issued a warning.
I'm saying it clearly and bluntly. Right-wing extremists are attacking our democracy. They want to destroy our cohesion.
But all the warnings have made little difference. Recent polls show that support for the AfD remains firm. 22% of people are ready to vote for it. It's in second place behind the Conservatives and well ahead of the parties in the current coalition government. And the AfD is even stronger in eastern Germany. There it is projected to come first in 3 regional elections later this year. So what can be done to stop the AfD? Ban it outright? Some politicians and many protesters demand that. But that's been tried before with right-wing extremist parties and was rejected by Germany's constitutional court. Another possibility, cut state funding for the right-wing party, a possibility opened up by a recent court decision.
I have always said that all legal means must be used and that I do not exclude any of them. Neither a prohibition process nor cutting of financial resources. I continue to see it that way.
But would the Constitutional Court accept such a move aimed at a party that has been voted into the Bundestag and into all 16 regional parliaments? On the other hand, banning the AfD youth wing would be easy. It's been classified as right-wing extremist by the authorities, and it's just an association, not a political party. The Interior Minister could simply issue a decree to ban it.
It must be stated clearly that the young alternatives are radicals. And if it has been proven that they are radical opponents of our constitution, then we have to take action.
But that would not stop the AfD, nor militant neo-Nazi youth groups. What about cracking down on radical individuals within the AfD? This man, Björn Höcke, is a case in point. He's a Nazi, a court has officially found, and he has enormous influence within the AfD. Hundreds of thousands of his critics have signed a petition to ban him from political office. That might work in a couple of years' time, but would it reduce his influence? That's doubtful. Many of the protesters in the past weeks aimed their anger not only at the AfD. They also called on Chancellor Olaf Scholz and his ministers to stop their infighting and to implement policies that would swing voters away from right-wing populism and back to the democratic center.
Let's bring in Kai Arzheimer now. He's a professor of political science at the University of Mainz and an expert on populist radical right movements in Europe with a focus on the rise of the AfD in Germany. Welcome to the program and thank you for joining us. Courts have ruled that some prominent AfD members can be called Nazis. So why is it then therefore so difficult to take legal action against the party?
That's because the hurdles for banning a party in Germany are really high. That's the rule of law for you. So the government would have to prove that the party is working actively against the constitution. It's not just enough to have an extremist ideology. They would have to bring proof that the party is trying to undermine the constitution. Even then, the court would have to rule with a supermajority. So 6 of the 8 sitting judges would have to deem the party unconstitutional, which is obviously a high risk for any government.
Studies have found that the majority of people who currently say that they would vote for the AfD do not have a closed extreme right-wing worldview. So what do you think, I mean, for the other parties that are trying to win them back, what do you think could be done?
So what we have seen is that support for the AfD has nearly doubled in the polls since 2022, when we had the last federal election. So that suggests that at least some of these people, maybe 40%, maybe half of them, have not previously voted for the AfD and might still be open to other political messages. And one thing the government could do is try and shift the focus away from immigration. So right at the moment, immigration is framed as the biggest problem in German politics, which is simply not true. But a lot of attention is focused on that and not on many other policy areas that deserve attention. That's something not just for the government, but also for the democratic opposition parties to ponder whether it's really worthwhile to focus so much on that single issue. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. How about the position that some parties have been taking to try and win back these AfD voters, basically taking a stricter position when it comes to migration, for example? I mean, tell us a little bit more about that strategy, how it's been going down, and how you see it playing out.
Yeah, it's not working very well. That's both the experience in Germany and in other countries in Europe. Once you frame politics in terms of that single issue, voters tend to think, well, that issue basically belongs to the AfD. So you're just diverting political attention, political capital towards their way. It's much better, as I said, to highlight other priorities and also solve the problem or solve the problems if there are problems in a more technical way and not by grabbing headlines.
The French right-wing populist Marine Le Pen is also threatening the AfD with the end of the joint EU parliamentary group because of the Potsdam secret meeting. Is the AfD now too right-wing for other European right-wing parties?
First, that's a very interesting development. If you are too far on the right for Marine Le Pen, that really should you give some pause and ponder your position. But you're right. What we've seen in recent years is that radical right parties in Europe have tried to mellow their appeal and to tone down their worst attacks on immigrant communities to be more acceptable for a broader segment of the electorate, whereas the AfD has gone the other way and has become ever more radical over the last decade of their existence. So if you compare them to many of their would-be allies in the European Parliament, they appear to become more isolated.
Kai Arzheimer, Professor of Political Science at the University of Mainz. Thank you.
Thank you so much.